Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Beyond the Ashes with Alexis Renee. I am your host, and I'm so thankful that you're here today. If this is your first time listening, welcome. I'm so glad you've joined us. Today's episode is another edition of Author's Corner. If you listened before, you know this is where I take you behind the pages of my books. We don't just talk about the stories themselves, we talk about where they came from, what inspired them, what I learned while writing them, and what I hope readers will walk away with after they close the final page. This week is especially exciting because my newest novel, Unraveling Sarah, was just released a couple weeks ago. So I've been really excited to share about this book with you guys. I've spent years living with these characters, rewriting scenes, editing chapters, questioning myself, praying over the story, and now it's finally out in the world. That's always a strange feeling as an author. For months, or sometimes years, a story belongs only to you. You know every character, every conversation, every twist, every chapter. Then one day you release it, and suddenly it belongs to your readers too. That's exciting. It's also a little terrifying, because you never really know how people are going to connect with something you poured your heart into. Today, I want to share what inspired the story, why I decided to write it, and what I hope readers discover as they follow Sarah's journey. Every book begins with a question. People ask authors all the time, where do you get your ideas? Honestly, every book starts differently. Sometimes it's one sentence, sometimes it's a character, sometimes it's a what if question that refuses to leave your mind. For Unraveling Sarah, it started with many questions. Questions that many people ask at some point in life. Who am I? Where do I belong? How much of my identity is shaped by my past? And what happens when everything you believed about yourself suddenly changes? I think those questions are universal. Maybe your story looks completely different than Sarah's. Maybe you never experienced what she experiences. But I think every one of us has had moments where life did not turn out the way we expected. Moments where we wondered what God was doing. Moments where we questioned our purpose. Moments where we had to figure out who we were all over again. That's where this story begins. One thing people sometimes ask me is why I chose to write the story as a novel instead of a memoir. The answer is actually pretty simple. I love fiction because stories allow readers to experience emotion alongside the characters. Instead of simply being told an idea, you get to walk through it, celebrate with them, cry with them, wrestle with them, grow with them. That's one of my favorite things about storytelling. Jesus often taught through stories. Stories have a unique way of reaching our hearts. Who is Sarah? Without giving away too much, Sarah is a young woman trying to build her future. Like many young adults, she's trying to figure out relationships, families, and what comes next in life. But beneath the surface, she's carrying questions she doesn't even realize she's asking. As the story unfolds, pieces of her life begin to unravel. Not because God is trying to destroy her life, but because sometimes truth has to come before healing. Sometimes what feels like everything's falling apart is actually God preparing us for something better. The meaning behind the title. I spent a lot of time thinking about the title. Unraveling Sarah. At first glance, the word unraveling sounds negative. We picture life falling apart, but I actually see it differently. Sometimes we have to unravel before we can rebuild. Sometimes lies have to unravel. Fear has to unravel. Shame has to unravel. Our own expectations have to unravel. Only then can God begin rebuilding us on a foundation of truth. That's what really represents this title. As you read Unraveling Sarah, you'll notice several themes woven throughout the novel: identity, family, grace, forgiveness, healing, trust, relationships, hope, and learning that even when life feels uncertain, God is still faithful. These aren't just themes for Sarah, they're themes many of us face in our own lives. Whenever I finish writing a book, I ask myself one question. If someone remembers only one thing after reading this, what do I hope it is? For Unraveling Sarah, my answer is simple. I hope readers remember that their identity isn't determined by their past. It's not determined by others, people's opinions. It's not determined by family secrets. It's not determined by failure. It's not determined by another guy. Our identity is ultimately found in Christ. One of my favorite verses is 2 Corinthians 5:17. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has passed away. Behold, the new has come. That verse reminds us that no matter where we've been or what we've experienced, God is able to make all things new. Why faith matters in my writing. If you read my books before, you know my faith naturally finds its way into my stories. Not because every chapter is a sermon, but because faith has shaped my own life. Life isn't easy. We all face disappointment, loss, questions, heartbreak. But I believe hope is always available through Christ. That hope is something I want woven into every story I write. This is only the beginning. One thing I can tell you is Sarah's story is not finished. This is book one of a 3-book series. There are still questions left unanswered. There are still relationships that will grow and change. There are still stories of discovers waiting ahead. If you finished Unraveling Sarah, thank you for beginning this journey with me. I can't wait for you to continue in the next book. And for you, those have not been able to read Unraveling Sarah yet, my prayer is that you find hope or some theme or some way to connect with it and are able to share it with others. Before I end today's episode, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for supporting my writing. Thank you for believing in these stories. Thank you for reading, reviewing, sharing, and encouraging me. And thank you for even coming on this crazy journey with me on this podcast. Authors spend countless hours along writing words that we hope will one day reach someone else's heart. Knowing these stories are finding readers truly mean more to me than I can ever express. Now, if you'd like to read Unraveling Sarah, it's available now on Amazon. If you do pick up a copy, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to leave a review or tag me on social media. I truly enjoy seeing your photos and hearing what parts of Sarah's journey resonated with you. I also want to say, if you are interested in purchasing a signed copy, feel free to reach out to me, Alexis Renee Author, on Facebook, and I can get you a copy mailed out to you for not an additional cost, and you can just have a signed copy. Thank you so much for joining me for another Author's Corner episode. Until next time, keep reading, keep growing, keep trusting the author of your own story, because no matter what chapter you're in today, God is not finished writing your story. And remember, there's always hope beyond the ashes.